Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Bedomy and this is Cyberpunk 2077, the first-person action RPG developed by CD Projekt Red, and also their fourth game in total. And honestly, this is one of their more, I won't say polarizing titles, but it did break their good standing with their community. The game was released in an unfinished state for the consoles, and the PC version, while stable, also had some issues that really annoyed a lot of players. Granted, CD Projekt Red did apologize publicly after the backlash, but as most people said, that apology wasn't really convincing. Thankfully, they are committed to fixing this blunder by releasing patches, and they re-released the game on the PlayStation Store in a stable condition. So here's hoping that this broken bridge can be mended relatively quickly. And to be honest, I kind of think that they will re-release this game as a Game of the Year edition with all the patches and additional content later down the line. Maybe it will even be released at a lower price early on. You never know. Might be even offered as a free upgrade for those of you who pre-purchased or already own the game. I honestly don't know, but I know that there's a planned DLC. There are plans to make DLC that's might add some not only replayability, but also add some additional content to the game as well. Anyway, let's look at the options menu themselves and then jump right into the game. And right from the start, you can see that this game is really a PC game at heart. Just look at the options we have. We can adjust our presets for our audio output devices when it comes to be it headphones, speakers, TV speakers, or studio speakers. I honestly, at this point, I really didn't know that there were so many versions of speakers at this point. I usually have just my regular old speakers attached to my PC or my headset. So, yeah, honestly, this is really surprising. Personally, this is really surprising to find out. Anyway, the volume sliders are all separate and can be adjusted individually or turned off with the master volume in total. Miscellaneous options are really a good sign of that CD Projekt Red really is interested in helping its community grow. How many companies do you know that enable you the option to play without the copyrighted music that's present in the game? Not many, I bet. And this really shows that CD Projekt Red understands that content creators are basically their bread and butter when it comes to exposition. Yeah, when it comes to it's free publicity for them, and it also brings additional potential players to their games. And I'm happy that they included this option. Cinematic options, not cinematic, subtitles. So, excuse me. Subtitles can be adjusted in size and shape, but if you want to adjust their language, you will have to go into the languages option and adjust them there. As you can see, the audio for the game is by default English and only English. But to be fair, there are some foreign characters that will speak in their native language, such as Japanese characters, Chinese, French, and Hispanic. People of Hispanic origins. Honestly, I'm not sure where I forgot where Night City is located, but it's a typical. Think of it as a very big hodgepodge of, big mixture of different lifestyles and cultures living in one place, like an average mega city of America. And I'm not just making this weird Judge Dredd reference out of hand, because this game really reminds me of Judge Dredd a bit, but we'll get to that when we actually enter the gameplay itself. Control-wise, you can adjust the sensitivity of the mouse and the controllers on your gamepad. And if you want to rebind your keys for the keyboard, you have to go to the key bindings and readjust every other action to a separate key binding. This is beautiful. Honestly, if I turned my camera on, you would be more or less frightened to death, and probably I'd get sued because of that. But if you survived the experience, you'd see me smiling like a little kid. Granted, I'm not going to turn to that camera and scare you to death, but imagine me smiling, basically. Sadly, when it comes to the controllers, you cannot rebind your actions to separate keys. They're all pretty much set in stone. And this is why I don't usually play shooters or any other majority of my games on. This is why I play most of my games with a mouse and keyboard. When you attach multiple actions to a singular button, things like these will definitely happen. If you want to reload your weapon and there's an interactable object with you, 9 out of 10 times you will start interacting with the said object instead of reloading your weapon, and you'll be shot to death. So, yeah. I would go for a mouse and keyboard for this game in any situation. Graphic options will allow you to adjust shadow qualities, lighting qualities, texture qualities, and such separately, but you can also use presets to just avoid the hassle. But personally, I would recommend that you adjust everything to your own personal preference. Just a word of warning, please do disable or lower the lighting effects and lens flares for when you actually start playing, because the game's lighting effects can be buggy at certain points in the game, and this will cause it won't cause actual blindness to you, but you will be temporarily blinded by the light effects in real life. So be careful about that. Ray tracing, it's not mandatory, and I honestly think that the game looks beautiful as it is already. But if you have strong enough graphics cards, you can also enable it to your own personal liking. Resolution scaling, I'm gonna go without that. If you want to use them, you can. That's your own. That's up to you. But I'm pretty sure that's actually, limited to NVIDIA, the graphics cards. So, pretty much that's it. You have a lot of options when it comes to visual presentation. Video options are, as the name suggests, screen resolution, VSync, and choice of monitor. As you can see, I only have one, so not much of a choice there. But if you have multiple monitors, you can choose which one will be your default monitor. And finally, the interface, which is basically your heads-up display. I would recommend that you keep everything turned on, because there are a lot of things you need to pay attention to when it comes to status effects, stamina, and ammunition. So keep those turned on at least for your first playthrough. Minimap, you can also adjust some minor effects on it, such as crowds of people on them, but you're better off without it. And honestly, that's it when it comes to options. Now let's get into the gameplay and actually discuss things.
Hey everyone, welcome
as I already mentioned, the game has a very good visual presentation. Just look at these fire and lighting effects, as well as shadows and texture quality. It really, well, this is just a pre-rendered cutscene, but just look at the game itself. It really looks beautiful. I mean, the light is dynamic enough that it changes as I am looking away, getting closer to surfaces. It really looks nice, but here's the lighting bug I was mentioning. As you can see, when you exit the darker area, the game will automatically tone down the brightness of the outside lighting. But if you exit too quick, the light will not adjust on the spot, and you'll enter a very bright area, and this will cause, I won't say just, it will cause discomfort, I have to admit. Especially if you're driving a car, it's very annoying. So anyway, welcome to Night City, one of America's top futuristic settlements, where overpopulation, over heavy industrialization and commercialization are in charge of people's lives, honestly. I mean, just look at this. Wherever you look, there's a poster with ads for weapons, food, and some other fancy stuff you would like to have. And I'm pretty sure that car just didn't spawn in. The character was just flying in the air. So yeah, there are some bugs, such as things just spawning in momentarily for you. And I'm pretty sure you spot out. There we go. See the building 666? It hasn't loaded in properly yet, so you can see part of the. There we go. You can only see part of the building and the sky. The sky's behind it. So yeah, the game has some loading issues, and these are heavily obvious when you're driving or running, because you're running too fast, so the game doesn't have enough time to actually load everything in time. And there's also this one issue where, give me a second, sometimes even if you just jump or run into something, the things will start breaking apart. And usually the set things are supposed to be indestructible by the game's logic. But things you would think that are breakable will not break for you. And also there used to be this very weird glitch where if you fell down from the pavement, you would die instantly. For some, gravity wasn't apparently gravity wasn't a thing until a few patches ago. And no, this is not an exploit of any glitch. This is just a cybernetic upgrade I got, which gives me double jumps. But yeah, there were some weird glitches in the game, such as gravity abusing glitch, which will allow you to run faster if you walked right next to the pavement. This would put you in a falling animation, in a state of a falling animation, and give you a boost of speed, or it would have killed you within seconds. Also, there's this. As you can see, I managed to slow down a car for some reason, and also the NPC AI can be pretty dim-witted on occasion. For some reason, this guy is just standing there. But anyway, that's enough of talking about the AI. Let's just get into the gameplay. As you can see, there are a couple of enemies in the area. We can immediately partake in this mission.
Suspected organized crime activity reported on Hargreave Street. APB out for Darius Miles, wanted for murder. Perp belongs to 6th Street Gang and leads one of its drug manufacturing rings. The city has promised a reward for terminating the threat from Miles and his drug cell.
Alright, let's enable our hacker vision, which allows us to, as the name suggests, hack devices as well as people, depending on their cybernetics. And on occasion, if you're no, I don't. And on occasion, you can also hack other devices to work for you. For example, I'm currently hacking cameras, so I can scope the area around me and see how many enemies I have to deal with. As you can see, there's quite a lot of them. So I'll try to survey the area before I enter. But this is not your only ability in the game. For example, you also have the ability to sneak around enemies and knock them out. Knock them unconscious in order to rob them as well as get rid of them. Currently I'm I'm going for a semi-ninja build in this playthrough, so I'm gonna demonstrate both the strong points of staying stealthy and using hacks, while also demonstrating how the combat works later on. So first off, we'll try to neutralize the guards here. Bollocks. Move. Alright, so as you can see, I got noticed by that guard and every other guard in the area is currently looking for me. Now the funny thing about this is, if I reload, the guards will still be in alert state, and they will still look for me even though I didn't enter the area and the mission hasn't started yet. Sometimes this issue hasn't been resolved yet, and well, sometimes these things happen. And as you just saw, this guard nearly noticed me for some reason, even though I was hidden behind the vehicle. So I'm gonna try to abuse the situation here while they're still searching for me, and try to neutralize them as quickly and silently as possible. As you can see, you can sneak past the enemies and just rob them blind and get their equipment. But no, I'm not taking that. It's garbage when it comes to gear. But as you can see, the enemies will actively search for you. And the weird thing about the enemy AI is they will enter an alert state even though they haven't seen the bodies yet. Granted, I was spotted on this particular occasion, partially, but even if I knocked out both of these guards and hid their bodies somewhere behind these barrels, the enemy would have entered an alert state for some weird reason. And also, the tags I applied to most of these guys are missing, so you might want to consider the idea of reusing cameras on multiple occasions when able to. And for some reason, I'm pretty sure that the fact that I pinged these guys, those pings will be gone when I exit the camera mode. Which is honestly weird. Sometimes the ping stays and sometimes it just blows away. So... Whoa! Wait! Hold on. Alright, as you just saw, I started moving without any input. Unless good thing I wasn't in front of the entrance, or else I would have run out in front of these guys and got shot. And as you can see, some of my some of the pings I create. Oh, what the? Some of these pings will come back if I move a bit, but I'm guessing they had a range to the ping is. But yeah, you can just see it for yourself that this guy just lost his ping and regained it afterwards. So the game can be weird sometimes, as well as as I mentioned already, gravity is weird, but movements can also get very awkward at certain points. I just got catapulted from my cover and nearly in front of nearly inside of my enemies. That's good. Okay, this guy just noticed me after I started attacking him, so make of this what you will. The game has some... Whoa! The game has some weird issues. I'm not gonna lie. Thankfully, I do have some ways to actually dealing with enemies, such as weapons, grenades, and my hacking abilities, as well as my upgrades as a fighter. And thankfully, I can also abuse the AI stupidity on occasion to hide from their sight and just take them out after they started looking for me again. And as you just saw not a moment ago, the pickup ability is broken. I'm not even looking at the pistol, and yet I can pick it up. And sometimes the other it goes into reverse. Unless you're standing pixel perfect, you will not be able to pick something up. Granted, I won't deny that the game has a pretty decent stealth system. If you make noise, the enemy will start looking for you, or will start searching in your general direction. But you can also use your hacking abilities in order to distract enemies and knock them out while they're distracted. I'll just pick this up and try to knock out the remaining enemies as silently as possible. Yes, I am a guerrilla fighter. I can. If you haven't noticed, I am pretty capable of knocking you up. Anyway, as I was saying, as you just saw, the game's combat mechanics can be broken at times. Not always, but yeah, they can be weird. As you can see, I'm trying to pick up the shotgun, and yet I'm registering the assault rifle. Anyway, as you just saw, I got discovered by the enemy, so I couldn't just disable his eyes temporarily in order to knock him out. I had to kill him. Granted, you can use some modifications for your weapons to make them non-lethal or extra lethal, depending on your choice. But yes, this is how the game's combat mechanics work. You can either sneak behind enemies and knock them out unconscious, or you can use non-lethal weaponry to, again, render them unconscious in full frontal combat, or you can just outright kill them with the usage of grenades, specialized hacking abilities, and weapons. Now, here's one problem I have with the game when it comes to weapons. What the? Apparently, yeah, the game needs some work, as you just saw. Usually you would get injured if you touch those barbed wires. And I thought I would be injured if I stepped on those here. But no, it seems that the game is still registering them as if they were up there, so I got injured because of it. Thankfully I do have a perk that enables me to regain my health, so I can pretty much walk away from this. But yes, this is the basic premise of the game's combat system. You enter an area, the enemies will, if they're not aware of you, will go into alert mode and start searching for you if you're spotted, partially. If you're fully discovered, they will all rush towards your location and try to kill you. No exceptions. You can avoid them for a brief period of time, but once you get discovered, your best bet is to just use your weaponry and hacking abilities to get rid of them as quickly as possible. You can also hack nearby devices to distract them, so you can get out of you can run away from the fight. Also, you can destroy some of the explosive barrels. And while you cannot alter the environment to a great degree, you can at least do some environmental damage to your opponents. And that's the basic premise of combat. It's pretty entertaining. It makes you feel like you're playing Deus Ex, if nothing else. And also, if you have a bike and a proper helmet, you can also roleplay as Judge Dredd from the Dredd universe. See, I told you that Judge Dredd reference to Mega City 1 would make sense. And honestly, that's true. I mean, Night City is... just look at it. Night City is it's a very large area. And it's also a very crowded area with city blocks, basically, at every corner. And as it is a thing with most big cities, you usually have gangs and districts that are controlled by the said gangs. And as you can see, you have multiple districts with multiple gangs controlling them. And this is one very interesting topic I would like to point out in the game that I'm not sure if anyone else noticed this, but it seems that like the game's gang enemies in general have a unique pattern when it comes to fighting, depending on the faction. For example, the 6th Street gang are, as you already noticed, are pretty much cowboy-oriented and army-minded individuals. So they will prioritize using shotguns, assault rifle. What the hell? Okay, as you can see, glitches are still present, but yeah, most of these guys are from the 6th, and they're pretty much preppers, cowboys, and military-minded individuals. So they would utilize assault rifles, pistols, shotguns, and act like a military of sorts, while rival gangs such as such as Voodoo Boys, for example, they will mostly rely on their hacking abilities and will engage in combat with melee weapons and up close and personal weaponry. Well, that's just something I noticed so far. Granted, I kind of wish that the game... no, that's not it. Where I was... character, yeah. I kind of wish that the game's reputation system was a bit more refined because of that. As you can see, you have 2 separate level bars. One is your personal level, and the second one is your street credibility level. The more the street credibility rises, the better discounts you get from vendors and doctors, as well as better equipment from the said vendors. Granted, I kind of wish that the game offered a bit more in terms of street credibility, not just in terms of instant rewards such as discounts and better equipment, but also in long-term reputation for the player in the game world. For example, let's say that my reputation is I don't usually fight with the 6th Street. I usually avoid their territory, and when I'm able, I usually try to avoid fighting with them, but I do fight Voodoo Boys on sight. It would have been nice if the game incorporated such a reputation system into the game so that every gang had some different view of you. Some gang members might see you as their best friend for all times, while the other ones might see you as an enemy of their district. And that would actually give you a bit more in terms of mechanics. So let's say that I was on good terms with the 6th Street. This would make the Santo Domingo district a safe haven for me, while the Pacifica district would be a death zone for me on the spot if I entered it. So basically, small stuff would have made the game more interesting, if I do say so myself. Granted, since this is a big map, the developers did add a lot of interactable area, side quests for me to do, such as side missions, like the one we just partook in. We can also take some illegal missions for the right price, since we are a mercenary. But those are more or less randomly generated, and while they are entertaining, they will get boring rather quickly. You can also visit other, as I said, shops and vendors for better equipment. These are usually highlighted in white. The blue pinpoints are fast travel points, and the turquoise or light blue, I'm not sure which. The light blue marks are usually police side jobs that you can just walk in and finish at your own leisure. The yellow side jobs are mercenary work that you can also partake in at your own. Are missions you can take on at your own leisure, but they usually have some special conditions that have to be followed. And finally, you have story-related missions, which are regulated as side quests and main story quests. They're usually very, very nicely, I would say, orchestrated. They have a good pacing to them. They have interesting characters attached to the set's story mission, and all around are the highlights of the game itself. So it kind of makes me wonder, why didn't the game just abandon the open world mechanic of the game and just put you in for a shorter but well directed linear story? I mean, just look at Vampire the Masquerade. Basically, it's not a open world game per se, but it still has enough minor maps, open maps that you can where you can go through and just follow the story as it goes along. The story will never change no matter what. Well, it will have some changes to it, but the main story is still the same no matter what you do. But we'll get to that after we take a look at the level up system, since I was already talking about it. So street credibility could have used some work, and your personal level is basically divided into two categories: your attributes and your perks and perk trees. As you can see, as you level up, you will get an attribute point, which can be spent on different attributes. And you will also get a perk point, which can be earned separately from your level. Perks are smaller bonuses you can unlock with perk points, and they're granted to you by leveling up your specific perk tree or leveling up in total. You only get one perk per level up, so you have to be you should consider where you place those perks. But you can earn them quicker by just doing specific actions that grant you additional levels to the set perk tree. Attributes themselves will give you bonuses to your perks as well as the level of the perk tree and the amount of perks you have in the set tree, but the attributes themselves will dictate how your character plays through the story. As you can see, I'm going for a bit more of a balanced build here, because these attributes will allow me to actually do certain actions in the world that are usually impossible for me. For example, if I'm not cool-headed enough, I cannot talk my way out of a deadly situation, or if I'm not strong enough, I cannot open a barricaded door. So these attributes will affect your gameplay and some of your discussion choices as the game progresses. They will affect your perks as you level them up, but in order to level your character properly, you have to enter the perk tree and unlock specific perks you wish to use. And the more you use specific weapons or actions, the quicker the set perk tree will just level up and grant you additional perks. And that's about it for the leveling. And this is where I think that the RPG mechanics should have stopped. Because it's one thing to actually build up your character and his reputation in the world, but I really don't understand why do most RPGs that have guns in them usually rely on damage outputs for specific weapons. I mean, just look at this. The sniper rifle and a pistol have a damage per second. Good mechanic. This is... I know there's supposed to be a suspension of disbelief in this, but honestly, I really find it annoying when my headshot doesn't kill the opponent immediately, because the damage output of the said weapon is lower than the armor of your opponent. It doesn't make much sense, honestly. Let's say, for argument's sake, let's pretend that my opponent is wearing a helmet like my character here, but if I hit him in the neck or one of his unprotected areas, he should fall down in pain no matter what. It's really destroys my suspension of disbelief in the game, honestly. This is why I think that weapons should have just been categorized as weapons, and just have a static damage output. So, for example, if I shoot someone in the head with the most basic pistol, they should die. No arguments there. Because as it is, I have to manage my inventory with a lot of higher tier weapons. Well, quote unquote higher tier weapons that don't do much damage, but give me some additional passive bonuses to my attacks. That's kind of ridiculous. And also, it kind of ruins my sense of style when it comes to look. I mean, just look at this. I'm going for a specific look when it comes to my character. I want to look cool while fighting enemies. I do not wish to wear let's say, yellow cocktail dress with pink spots and high heels while also riding a motorcycle with this helmet. I mean, I don't care how much protection do I get from it. It's really ridiculous. It's honestly, I mean, it is funny, but it's kind of ruins the image of the character I want to build. That's all I'm trying to say. Anyway, as you can see, this is an open world game, so you can actually drive around the area with your vehicles, scan everything with your hacker vision to see where you can get some additional money by hacking into computers and such. Unfortunately, you cannot hack the traffic lights in order to cause traffic problems or something, even though that would be a very interesting mechanic to implement. You're just bound to driving around, and actually just to demonstrate my point, the mechanics in the game are, especially physics-based ones, are somewhat weird. I'll take a look. Okay, nope. Okay, usually, as you can see, I should have flown off that bike, not push that van so far forward. The game's physics are really weird at certain points in the game. Granted, this is a far compared to before. This is an improvement. People do react if you drive too close to them. Let's see, just so you can. Yep, you can see they're just gonna jump off and yell at you. The police will start chasing you if you do something illegal, such as attacking civilians or doing something. If you start doing something stupid. Although on occasion your character will move on its own, even though you stopped him. I mean, you already saw that after I exited the last camera. But anyway, as I was saying, the good part about the game is the city is built up like Mega City 1 from Dredd's universe, so you can also roleplay as Judge Dredd for a bit if you want. But honestly, yeah, I think that bigger doesn't always mean better. I mean, yeah, you have a big city, but hey, the hell, dude, you jumped out of the way. Why are you jumping in front of the... As you can see, the AI can be dumb sometimes, but it could be worse. You can also choose radio stations if you don't want to listen to a specific music. You can also just to let you know, you're not bound to just hacking cameras. You can also hack some other surfaces and mechanical devices to see where your enemies are, or you can activate them or disable them. But as I said, this game would probably benefit if it was a smaller, linear interpretation of the pen and paper RPG called Cyberpunk 2020. And honestly, I think this is a growing. I won't say it's a growing trend, but this is a. There seems to be a going trend in most interpretations of pen and paper based RPGs that get interpreted into video game format. They're usually released in a buggy state and really need a lot of reworks in order to be playable. And honestly, I'm kind of glad that CD Projekt Red did stick around to actually fix the game as much as they can. Granted, the mod community will definitely do a lot of things for the game itself if it's still present. I mean, there are a few mods that allow you to date some characters that were previously undateable to your character. I mean, you can date them if you build your character according to some specific build details, such as give your character a make your character muscular and male-like, but give him a female voice and female reproductive organ, and he or she will not be able to date certain male characters, but he or she will be able to date other female characters. That sort of things. So it's nice that there is a mining community for this. And honestly, I can't wait to see what the game has to offer in the future. It's not a masterpiece, I admit. I mean, seriously, there we go. As you can see, this is the lighting effect I was talking about. The game's lighting effects will blind you momentarily. And also, while the game has an active traffic, there are no street races. There is a street racing story quest, but there are no random races you can partake in on the spot. You have to really follow the story in order to start racing someone, which is somewhat sad, but hey, hopefully as new DLC comes in, they will add additional street racers and other side content you can partake in, because combat only missions and stealth missions, while fun, can become pretty boring with time. Anyway, yeah, as I said, the game has bugs. I'm not gonna deny it, but it is a fun experience if you're playing this on not continuously, but in a couple of spurs. Basically, start playing it at one point, give it a rest for a few weeks, and then come back to it. You're basically it's a cyberpunkish version of GTA, or what happens when you mix GTA with Deus Ex. All I'm trying to say is, if you're not planning on playing it continuously, it's a pretty decent game to actually sink a few bucks into and just play it whenever you want to, just goof around and shoot civilians. Granted, the police will start chasing you then, but I think that kind of adds to the charm. Honestly, playing a bit as a mercenary in this world isn't so bad. It could have been made by Electronic Arts, and that would have been worse, probably. So, all things considered, I would recommend that you buy this game at a later date when it's on sale and when a few more patches are released. As it is, it's fun. It's a good game to actually just make a compilation video of bugs and glitches, just to make things more just so you can have a laugh, but otherwise, no. And, if you're looking for a good RPG to sink your teeth in, I wouldn't recommend this game just yet. And, well, it is no secret that Keanu Reeves is in the game. His character takes some getting used to, I have to admit. Granted, Reeves really does do a phenomenal job at portraying the character, and I don't have to say this because everyone already knows it, but Keanu Reeves is awesome. But yeah, that's about it. Would I recommend the game? Yes, if you're bored and want to just see how broken it is. If you want to see how broken the game is, but still there is some enjoyment into it, but not on a continuous, not in strong continuations. You play it for a few days. You play for a few days, give it a rest for a week or two, and then come back to it. That's how you keep yourself entertained with the game. But yeah, if you're looking for a strong RPG, go for a different. Look for a different title. Anyway, my name has been Bedomy. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and yeah, if you could subscribe, that would be appreciated. Thank you very much for watching, and good night.